put out in 2009. And the National Council for Skill Development was chaired by none other than the Prime Minister himself. There is a skills paradox, which I find amazing, and all of you would agree, that India as a country, we export manpower. We have construction workers who go abroad to work. And at the same time, I hear that there are workers who are coming in from Mexico to work in the construction industry. It's the same thing with welders. Why is this? I think if you were to go into the reason, I think it's because of lack of accessibility to quality training programs that we see this paradox. Another critical, if you were to look at the entire framework that exists, there is a need, an imperative need to move into sustainable models. There's so much that subsidy can deliver, and if you look at the millions that need to be reached out to, it needs to happen through sustainable model. If you look at the whole theme, we are poised for double-digit growth, and essential prerequisite would be an availability of a skilled workforce. The mismatch in terms of capacity is huge. 4.3 vis-a-vis the 13 million who need to enter the job market every year. And also one very critical aspect was that 93% of the Indian workforce is employed in the unorganized sector. So it all won't work if we just look at the high growth sector in terms of services and manufacturing and ignore the unorganized sector. As you can see, the percentage of youngsters who receive formal training in India is dismally low. If you were to bucket the issues in a very simplistic, it's a quantity issue, a quality issue, and also the fact that they lacks a national vocational education qualifications framework, all of which does not allow a person to aggregate his or her credits and move up the ladder, as Sandhya had previously said, from someone moving from a sweeper to a scientist. When we started off, one of the first things that we did was to map the requirement sector-wise in the high-growth sectors till 2022 as laid out by the Planning Commission. And the numbers thrown up were huge. We went ahead and also did it for the unorganized sector, and the number 37.6 million is the highest for the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector, by the way, exists both in urban as well as rural India. If you look at it skill-wise, the numbers annually are huge. What it essentially translates is that if we need to reach the 500 million that the government wants to achieve by 2022, the capacity needs to be increased eightfold. Wherever there's a problem, all of you would agree there exists an opportunity. So what we at NSDC believe that there is an opportunity for skilling, for setting up sustainable business ventures. And if you look at an intervention cost of 2,000 per head, that translates into a humongous, mind-boggling 1 lakh crore at the minimum. This is the entire framework as I had outlined earlier. So the Skills Development Board, Coordination Board, which is rests with the Planning Commission, is there to coordinate the government efforts, which are through the 17 central ministries, and NSDC, which has been incorporated and started operations just about 1.5 years back. You've heard of the public-private partnership. We think that it's a public-private-people partnership. One tends to not give enough weightage or credence to trainees. One of the problems that exists with vocational training is that it's not aspirational. Given a choice, youngsters and their parents would prefer their kids, would prefer them going into formal education, which may or may not have any visibility or employment linkages vis-a-vis the vocational options. This is the entire skills matrix, and I don't have time to go through it, but we've tried to see how each of these stumbling blocks of infrastructure, of the revenue models, could be addressed by the different stakeholders who are part of this vocational training space. If you look at NSDC, we work along three verticals, three pillars. One is that we are mandated to catalyze the private industry to actually get down and get into the vocational training space. To look at sustainable business models. And to put our money where our mouth is, we provide patient capital in terms of debt, equity, and grant. And finally, if you look at the quality aspect, it's the entire ecosystem, vocational training ecosystem, if you were to say, is in a very nascent stage. So we also look at addressing the quality issue by setting up the sector skills councils, quality assurance. The millions that we seek to train is not going to happen because one major stumbling block is going to be the lack of trainers. So another track that we work on is setting up train the trainer institutes, vocational loans, so on and so forth. If you look at the projects that we've already funded, in about 2 years, we hope to be across half the districts in India. One of the objectives that we have is that we need to be accessible. We need to be there in every district of the country. There's no point setting up centers of excellence in metros or tier 2 or tier 3 cities unless and until we reach out to where the masses are. I'd like to dwell a little bit about NSDC's whatever proposals we look at. We have 3 basic mantras, if I may say so. One is that the projects needs to be sustainable. 2, they need to be large scale because we have such large numbers to deliver. And last but not the least is that they need to be linked, outcome linked. So a 70% guarantee of employment. We are agnostic in terms of geography, in terms of segments of people, in terms of their education levels. We work with partners who will skill people who are school dropouts, class 5, class 8, all the way up to engineering graduates, because each level requires employability skill sets. An overview of some of the NSDC partners ranging from associations to NGOs to first-time entrepreneurs, microfinance institutions. Logically, the training education vertical is the largest, and also of late, we are trying to get corporates into the vocational training space. A brief overview of what we've done till now. 30 proposals have been approved, 6 sector skills councils. And in about 3 to 4 years, when our project reach capacity, we hope to achieve annual capacity of skilling 11 million year on year. Another major aspect, as I mentioned earlier, is that vocational training is not considered aspirational. This is a major issue for most of our training providers. It's an issue when it comes to filling up classes. So there are 2 things that NSDC is working on right now to address this. One is that we are taking a team, this is the 2nd year, to the World Skills Competition in London. This is the equivalent of a Skills Olympics. And next year, we want to have a national version of this as well to celebrate skills. We are talking with the government to take out a national campaign. This would be generic to talk about skills, to make it aspirational. Why is it that in the Western countries, there is no issue about people becoming plumbers or no stigma attached? Why is it that skills is not given its rightful place? Just in time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.